Hi, everyone. Let's talk about WWE NXT Revenge Week 1, which was a great show. Let's talk about this, guys. This was great stuff. Let's talk about it. So we had Jada Parker fences Kalani Jordan, the bell rings, and the two lock up. And Jada Parker rocks Jordan with a few strikes, then Lynch in a submission hold on her and runs over her with a shoulder tackle, and she follows it up with a back body drop to Jordan before the two women level one another onto the outside. During the commercial break, Parker catch Jordan with a back elbow and ascents to the middle rope, and Jordan stripped Parker with a kick, then continued to target Parker left knee and sent it bouncing off the mat, and she used the bottom rope to sit out on Parker's knee, then sends it bouncing off the ring post back from the break. Then Jordan lands a chomp block on Parker's knee, but Parker catch Jordan with a German suplex, and Jordan responded by launching a crossface on Parker, then leveled her with the Inzanari and sends up before Parker sent Jordan crashing into the top turnbuckle face first. Then Parker gets Jordan up on her shoulder and sends her crashing into the mat with a Samoan drop, then runs over her with a pair of shoulder tackles and follows it up with a backstabber, and she connects with her sinister hip attack on Jordan, but Jordan flies off the apron over the top rope to send Parker crashing into the mat. Then Parker connects with a driver on Jordan, then sets up for the hip Nelson on Jordan. Then Jordan moves out of the ring to send Parker crashing into the exposed middle turnbuckle hip first, opening the door for Jordan to land a split leg moonsault on her for the win, and that's how Kalani Jordan defeated Jada Parker, which that was a great opening, I'm telling you. That was a great opening, I'm telling you. Those two women killed it, I'm telling you. Those both women killed it in the ring. Then we had Joe Henry hold a concert for the NXT Universe. And Joe Henry says, if you say his name, he appears. And he said he lost the NXT Championship at Stand and Deliver to Tony D'Angelo. And he's now has to ask himself some important questions when it comes to stopping or quitting. And he says he decided against quitting, then says he wants to lift everyone's spirit with a concert. And Joe Henry begins playing a song about Tony D'Angelo and Ricky Saints and Eden Page and the NXT champion. And Carver storms out of the ring, but Joe Henry says the people were promised a Joe Henry concert and they will get one. They will get one, and Carver hopes to attack Joe Henry, but Joe Henry fires off right hands on Carver and cracks his second guitar across Carver's spine, and Carver stands standing and attacks Joe Henry, then takes out the security guards, then makes his way out, and Carver then spears Joe Henry and the security guards through the barricade, which was crazy, I'm telling you. Some good stuff right there from Carver. I can't pronounce his first name, so I just say Carver. But yeah, that dude is sick, man. How he throws people and attacks people in NXT. I love his work. I really do. I love that guy's work, Carver. He's really good. Then we head backstage where Stephanie Falcare wishes Lowell Vice good luck in her NXT Women's Championship defense later in the night. Then back at ringside, Armstrong makes her way to the ring, and Sky Ray is already waiting inside, and we had Skylar Ray fences Armstrong, which was a great match, and Armstrong won her debut match. Let's talk about it, guys. The bell rings and the two look up, and Armstrong wears down Ray's arm and sends her crashing into the mat spine first, but Ray lands a boot on Armstrong's midsection, and Armstrong delivers a spinebuster on Ray, then fires off shoulders on Ray's midsection that connects with an over-the-shoulder power slam on Ray. Then she goes for a pin, but Ray kicks out, and Armstrong fires off right hands on Ray, then levels her with one, then goes for a pin, but Ray kicks out, and Armstrong then wears down Ray with a submission hold, but Ray fires off chomps on Armstrong and connects with a shoulder bounce before she delivers a tornado DDT on Armstrong and goes for a pin, and Armstrong kicks out, and Ray ascends to the top rope and looks to fly, but Armstrong catches Ray with a right hand and follows it up with a scoop power slam to her, and Armstrong runs the ropes and delivers the the connection to Ray for the win, and that's how Armstrong won, with the connection to Ray for the win, and that's how she won it and defeated Skylar Ray. Then we head backstage to Blake Monroe and Felicity Projects and Robert Stone's office, and Stone reveals Blake Monroe will challenge Tatum Paisley for the Women's North American Championship on week 2, which we'll talk about that next, guys, of that episode, but informs Blake Monroe that Tatum Paisley insists on choosing a stipulation when he signs off on. Then, back at ringside, Ethan Page makes his way to the ring, and Tony D'Angelo follows, and we have the match between Tony D'Angelo versus Ethan Page for the NXT Championship, and this match was good, guys. I like this match right here, and Tony D'Angelo retained his NXT title over Ethan Page. But let's talk about the match. The bell rings of the 2 lockup, and Ricky Saints runs out of the ring, and Ethan Page tells him to pull a weapon from underneath the ring, and Ricky Saints looks to do so, but instead pulls under the ring by Ricky Saints out of the other side of the ring and ties to a rope and drags him all the way to the back. Then Tony D'Angelo delivers a fireman carry, slams to Ethan Page, and gives up on his shoulder before the action spills out of the ring, and the 2-man return back inside the ring during the commercial break. But Tony D'Angelo runs over Ethan Page with a shoulder tackle and a suicide, and Ethan Page fires off right hands on Tony D'Angelo's head back from the break. But Tony D'Angelo catches Ethan Page with a suplex, and Ethan Page lands an over-the-shoulder power slam on Tony D'Angelo and pins him, but Tony D'Angelo kicks out, and Ethan Page grabs the NXT Championship belt from ringside area, and Tony D'Angelo rolls up, and Ethan Page puts Ethan Page Connect with an eagle edge on Tony D'Angelo on top of the NXT Championship belt, and he clears the announce desk and dumps, I'll say again, he clears the announce desk and dumps Tony D'Angelo on top, then joins him on it and spears him on top of it, and then follows it up with a chokeslam to Ethan Page back inside the ring for the win, and that's how Tony D'Angelo defeated Ethan Page. Then we hear from Miles Bourne with, being the North American champion and stuff, guys, and with defeating Johnny Gargano at Stand and Deliver and stuff. Let's talk about it. Miles Bourne says he sent Johnny Gargano right back to SmackDown at Stand and Deliver, then says he was about to go home to celebrate with Stephanie Falcare. He says all of the chatter after the match wasn't just how I'll say it again, guys. He said all of the chatter after the match wasn't just about how he's about Gargano, but how Leon Lennox calls his shot for the North American Championship and says Leon Lennox stole his moment from him, and he says it's clear play for him to say that when you attack him, no one is safe. And then the Dark State music hits, and Leon Lennox and Osiris Grimston and Carter James and Daquan appear in the crowd, and Leon Lennox gives Miles Bourne 2 options: accept his faith or try to deny the impossible of him dethroning him as the North American champion. And Miles Bourne greats Leon Lennox a North American Championship match next week and says there's another option. He retains the title, and he says Dark State can try taking him out, but Leon Lennox may not get his title match in that case. And he says Leon Lennox has a decision to make as the leader of Dark State, but Daquan cuts off Miles Bourne and says Dark State has no leader, and Leon Lennox says that Dark State doesn't attack Miles Bourne, but Daquan decides to charge at Miles Bourne in the ring, and Miles Bourne then sends Daquan crashing into the mat. Then we had EK Pro Super to make his way to the ring, and Demar Finn Cruz followed and stuff with that, guys, which was for the speed match, which, that's under 5 minutes, which I'm not really into, but let's talk about it anyways. The bell rings as the 3 minutes limit begins, and EK looks to deliver and introduces Garana to Vince Dax, and Vince Dax sends EK crashing out of the ring over the top rope and flies over the top rope, then dumps EK back in the ring and lands a frog splash on his back. Then EK lands a springboard moonsault on Vince Dax off the middle rope onto the outside as the clock passes 2 remaining minutes, and then dumps him back in the ring. And Vince Dax lands a missile drop kick on EK off the middle rope and pins him, but EK kicks out as the clock approaches one remaining minute, and Vince Dax delivers a springboard cutter to EK, but EK delivers a moonsault to Vince Dax off the top rope before pinning Vince Dax for the win, and that's how EK won that speed match and defeated Vince Dax. You know, it's pretty hard to pronounce their names. But anyways, carry on, guys. Then after the match, EK ascends his hand to Vince Dax, and Vince Dax shakes it and raises EK's hand, and Birthrights appears on the entrance ramp and stares down EK ahead of EK's final match against final match against Lennox Kings at week 2 of Revenge. And then we head over to find Robert Stone coming across Tatum Paisley on top of several staff, and Shallow Hill rolls over a casket, and he has built himself with Tatum Paisley, revealing he has chosen to defend her Women's North American Championship in a coffin match in week 2 of Revenge, which was a casket match, guys, and stuff. We'll talk about that later and stuff. Then we had the main event, guys. This was a great main event with Lola Vice and Jacy Jayne with the final influence for the NXT Women's title. This was great. Let's talk about it. The bell rings and the two lock up, and Lola Vice takes out an interfering Reed onto the outside, Lynn Reed on the outside, but Jacy Jayne takes advantage and runs over Lola Vice with a boot and dumps Lola Vice back in the ring and pins her, but Lola Vice kicks out, and Jacy Jayne fires off stomps on her in the corner during the commercial break, and Jacy Jayne and Lola Vice level one another with clotheslines back from the break, and then the two women trade strikes with one another before Lola Vice connects with a German suplex on Jacy Jayne, and she sends Jacy Jayne crashing out of the ring with a roundhouse kick to her head, but Fallon Henley delivers a kick to Lola Vice midsection as Jacy Jayne holds Lola Vice in place, and Lyndon Reed distracts the ref, and this opens the door for Jacy Jayne to connect with a rolling in core on Lola Vice and go for a pin, but Lola Vice kicks out, and Lola Vice ascends a Golan on Jacy Jayne, but Jacy Jayne powers up to her feet and pins Lola Vice, and Lola Vice kicks out and rolls up Jacy Jayne, but Jacy Jayne kicks out and I'll say it again. Lola Vice kicks out and rolls up Jacy Jayne, but Jacy Jayne kicks out, and Lyndon Reed then takes a cheap shot at Lola Vice, and Jacy Jayne looks to follow it up with the rolling in core, but Lola Vice sees Jacy Jayne coming and lands the 305 on her for the win, and that's how Lola Vice won with the 305 and retained the NXT Women's Championship. Then after the match, Armstrong runs over Fallon Henley and Lyndon Reed onto the outside with a double shoulder tackle, and then she stares down Lola Vice as Kendall Gray and Easy Dame and the Colin and Saria make their way out to call their shot for the NXT Women's Championship. Then I'll say it again. For the NXT Championship, and Soruka blindsides Saria with a crossbody to her from the crowd as Lola Vice stands tall with the NXT Women's Championship belt since above her head, and the show went off the air, and I gave this show a 9.5 out of 10. It was a great show. I gave this week 1 a 9.5 out of 10. It was a great show. I loved every moment of it, guys. This NXT Revenge was a great show in my opinion, and that's my thoughts on it, and I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Week 1 of NXT Revenge. But anyways, appreciate everybody stopping by, live viewers and replay viewers, as always, the ones that give me support and stuff and love me. But for all the other people that give me negative vibes, go watch somebody else, like I said. So anyways, guys, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit those notification bells. As always, this is CJD. I'll say it again, this is CJD 2006. One more time, this is CJD 2006. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit those notification bells, as always. And this is CJD 2006, and we're out.